This is my Cmst 2060 speech. It's about my grandmother. My specific purpose is to show my audience how some eating settings remind me of my grandmother's cooking and brings nostalgia to my family and I. My thesis, because Hurricane Katrina, my grandmother was forced to come and stay with my family and I. The food brought us to the table, but our company kept us coming back. My introduction, the story of Patsy Sweeney. The drive down Canal Boulevard from downtown after Katrina was like driving into an apocalypse, when each house seemed a bit more destroyed and askew than the previous one. Another quote, consequently up to 80% of the city was flooded, with water reaching depths in excess of 3 meters in some locations. She lived on Canal Boulevard, and she unfortunately had 13 feet of water rush and sit in her house for a couple weeks. Water rushed through her house like the plague rushed through Egypt, crushing everything in its path and left emptiness behind. First, I want to discuss the effect Katrina had on our direct family. She had no other choice but to stay with us for the remainder of the year. Secondly, is the way she made herself right at home with us instantly and became part of the family. She cooked us meals from her Italian background, such as pastas, lasagna, and even continued the tradition of red beans and rice. Although she cooked for us prior to Katrina, we became accustomed to her cooking habits and the food she would prepare for us. Finally, how the food brought us together and allowed us to remain in each other's lives forever. We were all affected by one of the greatest natural disasters the city's ever seen, yet we remained together and brought closer by interacting over a well-prepared meal. After the evacuation process was finally over, my family and Patsy moved back into my house and began to try to live a normal life again. Times were different now, as few people were moved back into the neighborhood, but this made us grow closer as a family and appreciate each other more. When special dinners rolled around, we all sat together, simply laughed, and talked as if we had been doing this forever. Those dinners made me realize how good it felt to be together with family and eat meals that I remember to this day. My thesis again is because of Hurricane Katrina, my grandmother was forced to come stay with family and I. Food brought us to the table, but our company kept us coming back. My grandmother didn't work during this time, so she took her time and cooked for us every night. Both my mother and father worked during the day, so to go home and smell a home-cooked meal was very satisfying to them. Even though her cooking always wasn't my favorite, it still brought us all to the dinner table every night. We would share our daily experiences together. These dinners created an environment in which we could all thrive. It was new to us all living together, but we made it work easily because we all did love each other. Eating vegetables, not one of my hobbies by any means, but in every meal we were forced to shove them down our throats. I like a meal that consists of steak or meat or anything that tastes good and is not necessarily healthy. But I would always sit at the table and continue to eat broccoli, carrots, spinach, you name it, I had to eat it. Having her around also helped me steer clear of fast food, which is also a problem because it's so very convenient and delicious. But they know best, and it was easy to see that eating vegetables were obviously health benefits. Here's another quote, a study that involved 17,370 adults and children was taken to see the amount of fast food intake. Data was collected by 2 non-consecutive 24-hour periods. Fast food use was reported by 37% of the adults and 42% of their children. So, which is almost 50%. I mean, it's a lot of people. In turn, we would eat her Italian cuisine, which put us on the right path to eating healthy. Before long, my grandmother and I were talking on a whole new level that I didn't think existed. Our conversations included more cursing and sarcasm, and she began to grow on all of us as a member of our direct family. Having lived with us for a couple of months now, she was finally initiated into the McGuire clan. With living with her, I realized while the food brought us together, the company kept us together. The place where we all ate together didn't affect the way we communicated. It was always positive. It was like she had created immunity for harassment. She wouldn't even allow my dad to ridicule my brother, me, or even my mom. It was a time where we all could sit down together and just tell her how our day went. Sometimes she would help me she would ask for help around the house too, which is a semi-con. But I realized how spoiled I was and was always the first to lend a helping hand right when she would ask. When she moved in with us, my brother and I had to share a room, which was hell at first. But we kind of got used to it, but it did create havoc. Looking back on it now, it was humorous, and the experience I'll never forget. But during that time, I really wanted to just end my little brother's life. Our altercations created conflicts at the dinner table, but they were always resolved by Judge Patsy. Because my grandmother moved in with us, dinner was now scheduled to always be on time. When I come home today and eat at random times, rarely in a family setting, brings me back to memories when we would all had each other to pass the salt or laugh at a semi-comedic joke. She still makes plenty of visits to our house, and we continue to make memories like our ones from the past. After she moved out that following year, I regained my personal living quarters, and both my brother and I were very relieved, but wouldn't have changed anything. She left us with more tradition that we have ever possessed. She left the impact on us that we would never shake. My conclusion, when she left my family and I maintained the same dinner habits that we received from her. We all sat at the table, continued conversations, rarely missed meals, and remembered all the times we would spend with our grandmother. Although her food was gone, it was her presence and the feeling you got when we could all eat together that brought us back to the table every night. Thank you.